Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. I'm Nick Park, and I'm taking us through a series of 5-minute messages where we look at Jesus in every book of the Old Testament. It's based around a little book I wrote a few years back called 40 Days with Jesus in the Old Testament, the Son of God revealed in every book of the Jewish scriptures. But we're taking a lot more than 40 days covering this series because Jesus is not just revealed once in each Old Testament book, but on many parts of the page. And I was talking about Hosea a couple of days ago, and I was saying about Hosea that Hosea, he was a prophet who basically married a woman. God told him to marry a woman who was not the kind of wife you'd expect a prophet to marry. She was a sinful woman, an unfaithful woman, a woman who went off with other men, and God kept telling Hosea to go and bring her back, and even on one occasion to pay money in order to redeem her, because she'd sold herself into slavery through her sinful lifestyle, and how this speaks to us of God's great love. You see, the salvation story of Jesus coming to earth and everything else, it's beautiful, but it's not pretty. It's not just all roses. It's not just all sweetness and light. It deals with deep sin. It deals with betrayal. It deals with agony and pain. And the gospel is beautiful, but we should never try to make the gospel pretty. There is nothing pretty about the Son of God being stretched out upon that cross and crying out in an agony of body and a much greater agony of soul and spirit, and crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And today I just want to follow through a bit more about that whole theme of redemption that is so clearly portrayed in Hosea and would not make sense unless we understand that it points the way to Jesus Christ. Just telling somebody to marry a sinful woman and then to put up with her nonsense and bring her back would not of itself convey spiritual truth. But when we understand it speaking about God's endless love for us, despite our many failings, then it all becomes meaningful. And based around this whole theme of redemption is that Gomer, Hosea's wife, already belonged to him, but he had to go and buy her back again. He had to redeem her. And reminded of a story that I heard many years ago when I was a young man. I was just a new Christian, and I was in a church and listened to this pastor, and he began to tell a story. And he told a story about a little boy whose father made him a boat, a little toy boat, really beautiful. I mean, a real work of art. It was far superior to any of the boats that any of his friends had. And so that little boy took the boat along to the local park, on the pond on the park, and he was sailing the little boat up and down the pond and so proud of it. Whenever some older boys came and started pushing him around and stole his boat and took it away. And he was heartbroken by this. His father had put a lot of work into making this little boat for him, and he was so distraught that it had been taken away from him. One day he's walking through the town and he looks in the windows of a second-hand shop, and he sees this boat, and it's his boat. And he goes in, says to the man inside, says, "You've got my boat." And the guy says, "No, it's my boat. I bought it off these older boys." "Well, how much is it?" And he told him how much it was. It was a sum of money that seemed way beyond that young boy's resources, but he went away and he began doing jobs for the neighbours, cutting grass, cleaning windows, running messages, all kinds of things, until he saved up enough money to buy the boat back. And he went into the second-hand shop and he bought that boat. And as he was leaving the shop, holding that boat tightly in his arms, if you'd got close enough, you would have been able to hear him talking. And he was speaking to his little toy boat. And he was saying, "You're mine. You're twice mine, because my Father made you and I bought you back." And that's what Jesus says to us today. He says, "You're mine. You're twice mine. My Father made you, and I purchased you back with my blood shed upon the cross." That's a New Testament message, but it's one that we see foreshadowed in the Old Testament book of Hosea. God bless you today. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.